Hey everyone, it's Peggy Pratt. Welcome to my second episode of my podcast, Sin Permiso, the Latina Lifestyle Podcast. Today I have a special guest, in her own words, Neily Soto, entrepreneurial AF. Nelly's a broker in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and we're going to hear a little bit about where Nelly's been, where she is, and where she's going. Welcome, Neily.
I'm excited to be here. I'm glad that you made an initiative to do this because I feel that a lot of women need to listen to what you have to say, but also those that you empower definitely will enjoy your platform. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Nelly. Thank you. Para eso estamos aquí, para inspirar, motivar. So cuéntanos a little bit about you.
So it's funny because, you know, when we talk about our history, we kind of look at it in this like macro level and we skip a lot of the details that really built us to where we are today. So to not bore your audience, I'm going to give them a macro level story, but I'm going to make sure that I focus on the hardships because a lot of people skip that, right?
Exactly.
And so I didn't think I was going to sell real estate for a living. That was not in my journey path. I wanted to be in corporate America. I wanted to be a big shot and eventually be CEO of a Fortune 500 company. That was my dream as a young college student, if I may say.
Never too late, Neily.
So, as you know, you go through life. I was a young parent. Again, I said I was going to be vulnerable and tell the hardships. And I say that as a catch-22 because it built me, but I also feel I grew up with my child. I had her at the age of 16. You know, having to finish high school with a baby is very difficult. There's a lot of stigma behind that in a Latino community, depending what culture you come from, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's other stuff that come with that, but that child basically made me realize that there is no choice. And I remember I used to tell her, it's you and I against the world, kid. We're moving forward. Put that seatbelt on. Put that seatbelt on.
Ready for the ride.
Yeah. So it was fun, but it was a lot of work and it was very difficult because my mother would help me, but she would only help me for things like school or work. If I wanted to have fun, that wasn't allowed because I already made a mistake or a choice that I could not deviate to make another one, basically. So here I was, young, trying to be a mom, trying to finish school, trying to be a young adult, but I couldn't really do all three because, again, like I said, it was like you are only allowed to succeed from now. That was like instilled from the get.
O lo hace o lo hace.
Exactly. No hay permiso, sin permiso. Right? To your point. So you know, to the story of how I end up in real estate, 9/11 happened while I had just finished school and started managing a small engineering firm in Methuen, Mass. And I remember sitting in that office as an office manager, and the boss basically said, turn on the TV. And I turned on the TV and you could see the plane going into that second plane going into the tower. And I froze. And I knew at that instant, and there are three moments in my real estate career, which I'll point out. That was one of them that actually initiated real estate for me. And I'll tell you why. When that plane hit that and I froze, I knew the world was going to change, but I was going to change. because I don't know if you live that, I think you know where you were, what you were doing at that time, and you probably remember what you were wearing.
Exactly. I was at the real estate office and it was on the TV and everybody ran to the front desk and then we went home early because everyone was in tears.
Yeah, you probably cried, you hugged your family. It was a moment in time where we knew the world will not be the same after that day, right? So shortly after that, I managed all the international projects for that firm as well because I was Latina and I spoke Espanol, and I was the only one that could do the communication with the contracts and so forth. So at that point, I was called 2 weeks later, basically laid off, and he was in a stage where all his contracts were not canceled but stopped. We couldn't travel, we couldn't really do much. So I remember him telling me, regardless of this, because here you are, it's my first experience. I had never been fired from a job. I would, responsibly give my notices if I was leaving. So for me, this was devastating. And I remember like tearing up, and it was like, it wasn't because I was losing the income. It was because I was losing part of that corporate dream. And I knew that was the beginning then. So I ended up managing a bar for a good friend of mine. He had called me and said, "Hey, you want a side hustle? You can manage the piano bar." It was a nightclub.
It's funny how most of us in the real estate business start off in the nightclub business, right?
Yeah.
Customer service.
Yeah.
Sociable.
Customer service. It helps that you can fix yourself up and look pretty.
Yeah.
Hey,
listen, there's something to be said for a good-looking realtor.
so Latinas, we grew up in that fun life of like, you have to dance, you have house parties, and that music culture in you is always accepted as, that's part of life. You have to enjoy yourself.
It's part of being Latino.
So I said, yeah, I took on the job. So I would, at that point, I started working out. I've been a fan of, I call it a workout junkie now in this stage of my life. But back then I was doing it just to basically have something to do in the morning after I dropped off my kid from work. And then, dropped off my child to school, and then I would go work out and then figure out what side hustle I would do because I wasn't really working until I got to the bar at night, right? So it gave me an opportunity to connect more with my child in that stage. So at the bar, I'll fast forward, I meet a gentleman that I would always upsell on his drink. And he was Mexican. He is Mexican. He's still alive. He's a good mentor of mine, and I appreciate him dearly. And every time I see him, there's these people in real estate that make impacts in you, and he was one of them. It's like looking at a dad figure.
I think we all had that dad figure, whether it was the broker, our first broker, our first mentor. So I can totally connect with you on that, Neily.
Yeah. So bottom line, I would always upsell him. He would go to the piano bar because that was the quiet side of the club. And eventually he said to me, "I think you'd do well as a real estate agent." And I'm like, "Oh, hell no. I'm not going back to school. I just finished." And I tell him my corporate dream. And he's like, "I don't think you belong in corporate America. I think you belong helping people. I think you have that." And I was like, "Well, what do I have to do?" And he's like, "I'm going to give you my card," which I still have, by the way. I still have that card. Yeah, this is like 22 years later. So he says, "I'm going to give you my card, and you're going to go take a class. It's 2 days. Back then, now it's more, but it's still feasible if you want to come into the real estate industry. You're going to take the class. You're going to pass that exam. And once you pass the exam, you call me. The rest is history." So I started my career with him, and he had 2 partners at the time. They all 3 were great mentors to me in my inception into the real estate industry. My focus was always first-time home buyers. I worked with
La Comunidad.
And from there, recession happened. I had to shift. Yep. They left the market we were in. I had to open up shop, become a broker owner, grew a team to 15, managed that team for some years, then decided to partner with Mr. D'Amico as my BFF said, "This is something you need to do." And you have influences in your life that you always listen to because you know that they want the utmost best for you.
And they won't steer you wrong.
So so the rest is history. Here I am. We're under the same brokerage.
Yep.
Real estate has been very good to me. I say that it's been very good to me, but I've been very good to it. And that's an inside joke for myself. And I say that because financially, of course, sky's the limit, right?
Right.
But I say that the impact that you can make in your community is very valuable when you become a staple, and you say, you know what, if you're setting the tone for others to be able to follow, I don't want to say a guide, but be able to, when a peer says to me, I want to be like you, to me, that's the most flattering thing I can hear in my career. I don't want to be known as Neily was the one, Neily sold a lot of houses. People forget that, but people don't forget, you know, she was an impact. She helped me with my business. She guided me. She gave me some advice. She sat down with me when I wanted to come in the industry. She told me what to do, what not to do, who the key players were. To me, that gives me more, you know?
Yeah, and there's something to be said for people that want to give back, right? Mentorship is huge, and not all cultures have that, right? I feel that the Latina culture is known for that, for impacting, for helping, for guiding, dando, guiando. Nelly, yo te admiro y te respeto. You're a badass Dominicana. I want to know how it is that you balance.
The feeling is mutual, though. You know that.
Thank you, thank you. How is it that you balance? Because I know that's what all the moms always wonder. How do you balance all of
So
this?
at this stage in my life, I have 4 kids. I'm married. My mother lives with me. And if you say I balance, I tell you that is not true. I don't believe in balance. I believe in setting time apart for the important things, because it's important to work. It's important to produce. It's important for self-care. It's important for your child to be heard. It's important for your husband to have time with you. It's important for you to take your mom to lunch and make her feel important in a space where everybody has to take up of your time when you're all together. So balance doesn't really exist. I say to, you know, anybody, whether you're in the real estate industry or not, what you need to do is make the time. So if you're constantly trying to see your friends and nobody can find the time, it's not important, guys. Because if you're truly important, if it's really important, they're going to make the time. You're going to make the time. You're good at that. You make time for your friends. You make time for yourself. You make time. You enjoy to travel. So you make the time. You make it happen. A client calls you for a listing that's important. That's income. That's so right. You make the time to go right out and see that, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, I always say delegating is key, but also communication is even better. Because if you can have open communication, and if you feel that things lack in certain areas, have the approach, whether it's with a friend, whether it's with your partner, whether it's with the kids, and say, hey, I've been feeling this way, and can we talk about it? And open that space.
There's definitely something important about not only communicating with others outside your circle, but communicating in your home and letting your children know, your husband know, your mother know what you need. And if you need especially something in those following 2 weeks, hey guys, I'm going through this. I'm going to be really busy. I need you to be on the same page with mom. You know, once I'm over this, you know, just give me this space to get what I need done. And also, now the next question, or the next thing that I want to go into with you, Nelly, besides being a badass in the real estate industry, you're in a man's world. You are also heavily into development and being a commercial broker. Commercial's always been known, for those of you that don't know much about real estate, as more of a man's world. So as a Latina in these meetings, in these town meetings, zoning meetings, in the organizations that you are part of, you're in that space of the Latina. What have you felt have been some of the struggles being in that space with the Anglo-Saxon man as a Latina there, voicing your opinion, and how have you been received?
So I don't ask for permission. So that
Sin permiso.
Sin permiso. I don't ask for permission. And I guess, you know, universe gives you what you need when you need it. Because I think if I would have explored commercial earlier in my career, I would have not been successful in that aspect. because now I can hold space in a room where it's full of testosterone and still feel confident, okay? And be able to voice
and look fine and hot and sexy while you're doing it.
So at the end of the day, I am very respectful, but I don't allow you to cross me. You know, I set the tone if I have to. Dealing in the development world, it is very difficult to navigate. And I believe you get more with sugar than with salt. So that's always my entry. I don't say I know more than I do. And I am always, and I hope I am in the rooms I am the dumbest person in the room, because if not, I'm in the wrong room.
That's right.
And so I think because I do that purposefully, right? I let them know where I am. You know, I'm not the pro here. You are, because most of the time they are. I think that kind of allows them to allow me to hold space, you know? A lot of women feel that they have to be very strong in that world of development or commercial real estate. I feel that you do when you have to. But when you come in, you can hold that space as I'm here. I want to collaborate. I want to work with you. And it's fun. It's been fun for me. I'm learning. And I say that if whatever industry you're in, if you're bored or stuck, have those conversations within yourself, but also with others and peers that can say, you know what, maybe try this, maybe do that. And that's how I ended up shifting.
So in regards, we spoke a little bit about mentorship and, you know, bringing people under your wings, and how, Nelly, it's just in you to share and comparte, ¿no? No como la envidiosa, como la que no cuenta, la que no quiere. You share your thoughts, your lessons, and your great advice to your friends, to your peers. You're on a national board for one of the largest Latino real estate industry organizations, which is NARP. You're on the board of directors. You're on boards locally for your town, your city. You know, you've transgressed the word I'm looking for, through many different communities with your entrepreneurial spirit and your love of people and giving back. For these moms that are listening that have that teenage girl, or for the young women that happen to be checking in on this podcast, what advice would you give them when they're trying to find themselves in the business world, career-wise? What advice can you give them?
So yes, so I'll elaborate a little bit on the board. So great mentors and colleagues, they build leaders, right? Or they help scale leaders when they see someone that they can scale due to what they can offer. And that was something that I was fortunate to find. So the national board I'm on is a great example of being in a room with brilliant minds and, you know, a family of people that look for your best interests, want the best for you, but also share. If you're in the business world and you're looking to scale to, you know, I want to get on this corporate board, or I want to get on this national board, I think you have to raise your hand. And a lot of us think it's going to come to us. You have to raise your hand, and then
speak up.
You have to perform. Okay. And everybody's in a different season of life. So you have to be cautious of that, of what season you're in. And if you're still in your mom season, maybe then, you know, being on many boards right now is not your cup of tea. For me, I enjoy boards. So I've had to let go a lot of my social world, because you can't do it all, right? It's very different than what I consider success. So, and if you are successful in my eyes, which is different than what your eyes are, right?
Correct.
If I should be able to celebrate you and not resent you for that. And I think that as women and as Latinas, you know, and I always say it depends what energy level you're in. And that's a whole different realm of conversation.
Well, we're going to talk about energy in another podcast.
Yeah. When you're, you know, there are women that can't stand you, and it's not anything to do with you. It's to do with themselves. And that's when they resent you for that. So I just wanted to share that with your audience because I know that, you know, these are things I practice, and I wanted to leave them with that.
Thank you for that. Again, Neily sharing everything with us, joining in Sin Permiso, where we have a space where we can talk about all these things and the Latina lifestyle. And see you guys on the next one.